What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NBA Saturday, May 8th. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's NBA slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, we have a 7-game slate tonight, so let's take a look at the point guard position. We had a few major hits yesterday and a few major misses, so let's see if we can get a consistent line of picks out for you here today. So at the point guard position, I like Kyrie Irving from the Brooklyn Nets playing the Denver Nuggets, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and although they've been pretty good versus opposing point guards, Kyrie Irving has averaged 46.3 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 35 minutes per game with a 31% usage rate. But he scored 74, 61, and 39 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 38, 39, and 36 minutes. He's projected at 47.4 fantasy points here tonight, but I think he can score you 50 fantasy points or more and get you 5 times value or more. He's 10,100 FanDuel salary and 100 less on DraftKings. He scored 41, 56, and 55 fantasy points in his last 3 games versus the Nuggets. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 231.5 points scored in this game. So I like Kyrie Irving here versus the Denver Nuggets. Okay, another point guard that I like. This is a FanDuel play for me only, but I think it's an exceptional FanDuel play here. I like Ja Morant from the Memphis Grizzlies playing the Toronto Raptors, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing point guards. Ja Morant has averaged 35.3 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 28% usage rate. He scored 29, 62, and 20 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 36, 37, and 37 minutes. So he's playing monster minutes. He's got a super high ceiling. Occasionally he'll have a game where he struggles, but he's been pretty good this year, and he's projected at 36.8 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.2 times value. He's 7,100 FanDuel salary, but he's 1,300 more on DraftKings. So I love that FanDuel price. He scored 35 and 36 fantasy points in his last 2 games versus the Raptors. Vegas thinks there's going to be 226.5 points scored in this game. So I like Ja Morant on FanDuel here versus the Toronto Raptors. Okay guys, it's time to announce the winner of our $100 weekly PayPal giveaway. And the winner is Gerald Thompson. Gerald Thompson, congratulations. You are the winner of this week's $100 weekly PayPal giveaway. Please reply to our comment to collect your prize. Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching. If you want to enter the drawing for $100 PayPal, all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won, and then we'll send you $100 PayPal. So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you. Now guys, just as a quick note, we just released a free DFS contest on Draft Dashboard for MLB and NBA for DraftKings and FanDuel. There's over $500 available in the prize pool, and this is a totally free contest you can enter as a Draft Dashboard member. So make sure to click the link in the description of this video, give Draft Dashboard a try, and you can start playing in our free DFS contest and compete to win some money. Okay, let's take a look at the shooting guard position. I'm going to give you a couple value plays here. I like Ty Jerome from the Oklahoma City Thunder playing the Golden State Warriors, who have the 12th worst defense overall, and they give up the 11th most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards. Ty Jerome has averaged 20.4 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 24 minutes per game with a 19% usage rate. He scored 35, 15, and 30 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 22, 19, and 22 minutes. He's projected at only 19.1 fantasy points here tonight, but I think he can score you 25 fantasy points or more and get you over 5 times value. He's 4,600 FanDuel salary, and he's 100 less on DraftKings. He scored 35 fantasy points in his last game versus the Warriors. Vegas thinks there's going to be 224 points scored in this game. Now, because of the minutes that he's playing, this is definitely a tournament play only. So I like Ty Jerome here versus the Golden State Warriors. Okay, another shooting guard that I like, another value play. I like Armoni Brooks from the Houston Rockets playing the Utah Jazz, who have a good defense overall, and they've been good versus opposing shooting guards. But Armoni Brooks, he scored 41 and 25 fantasy points in the last 2 games, playing 34 and 30 minutes. So I think he's going to score at least 25 fantasy points here tonight, and that would be way over 5 times value. He's 4,000 FanDuel salary, and he's 600 more on DraftKings. He scored 25 fantasy points in his last game versus the Jazz, and Vegas thinks there's going to be 227 points scored in this game. So I like Armoni Brooks here versus the Utah Jazz. Okay, let's take a look at the small forward position. This is another FanDuel only play for me. I like Michael Porter Jr. from the Denver Nuggets playing the Brooklyn Nets, who have a middle of the pack defense overall, and they give up the 5th most fantasy points to opposing small forwards. Michael Porter Jr. has averaged 33.2 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 22% usage rate. He scored 45, 28, and 27 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 38, 25, and 39 minutes. He's projected at 35.1 fantasy points here tonight, and on FanDuel, that's 5 times value, because he's only 7,000 FanDuel salary, but he's 1,700 more on DraftKings. So I'm probably not going to play him on DraftKings, but I think he makes a great FanDuel play. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 231.5 points scored in this game. So I like Michael Porter Jr. here versus the Brooklyn Nets. Okay, another small forward that I like. We picked him yesterday, and he was one of our best picks. I like Bojan Bogdanovic from the Utah Jazz playing the Houston Rockets, who have the 2nd worst defense overall, and they give up the 5th most fantasy points to opposing small forwards. Bojan Bogdanovic, now he's averaging 24.6 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 31 minutes per game with a 23% usage rate, but he scored 62, 27, and 29 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 39, 25, and 33 minutes. And you can see his usage rate has gone way up over the last 3 games with a 35, 32, and 29% usage rate. So I think he's going to score at least 30 fantasy points here and get you 5 times value or more. He's 5,700 FanDuel salary, and he's 1,000 more on DraftKings. So I prefer that FanDuel price. He scored 19, 28, 17, 15, and 31 fantasy points in his last 5 games versus the Rockets. But you got to consider that his minutes are way up, and so is his usage rate. And it's a fantastic matchup where Vegas thinks there's going to be 227 points scored in this game. Now, this is a back-to-back, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. So I like Bojan Bogdanovic, especially on FanDuel here versus the Houston Rockets. If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again and good luck. Okay, let's take a look at the power forward position. I'm going to give you a value play here. I think it's an exceptional value play on DraftKings. I like Brandon Clark from the Memphis Grizzlies playing the Toronto Raptors, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they give up the 9th most fantasy points to opposing power forwards. Brandon Clark has averaged 24.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 25 minutes per game with a 17% usage rate. He scored 25 and 28 fantasy points in the last 2 games, playing 21 and 23 minutes. He's projected at 22.9 fantasy points here tonight, and even on FanDuel, that's 5.1 times value. He's $4,500 FanDuel salary, but he's $800 less on DraftKings. So I love that DraftKings price. And he scored 31 fantasy points in his last game versus the Raptors. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 227 points scored in this game. So I like Brandon Clark, especially on DraftKings here versus the Toronto Raptors. Okay, another value play at the power forward position. I prefer this value play on FanDuel. I probably play Brandon Clark on DraftKings. And on FanDuel, I play Aaron Gordon from the Denver Nuggets playing the Brooklyn Nets, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they give up the 5th most fantasy points to opposing power forwards. Aaron Gordon has averaged 26.4 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 28 minutes per game with a 21% usage rate. He scored 21, 6, and 24 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 30, 22, and 24 minutes. So the reason I like this pick is because he played 30 minutes last game. So if he's going to get close to 30 minutes this game, I think he'll be able to crush value. He's only projected at 25.4 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 6.2 times value. He's only $4,100 FanDuel salary, and he's $800 more on DraftKings. I do think he's playable on both sites because 25 fantasy points would be over 5 times value even on DraftKings, and he scored 47, 30, and 25 fantasy points in his last 3 games versus the Nets, and Vegas thinks there's going to be 231.5 points scored in this game. It's a good matchup, so I like Aaron Gordon here versus the Brooklyn Nets. Okay, moving on to the center position. I like Khem Birch from the Toronto Raptors playing the Memphis Grizzlies, who have the 11th worst defense overall, and they give up the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing centers. Khem Birch has averaged 19.1 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 22 minutes per game with a 13% usage rate. But take a look at his last 3 games. He scored 43, 22, and 18 fantasy points in his last 3 games, playing 36, 31, and 29 minutes. So the reason I like this pick is because he played just about 30 minutes or more in the last 3 games, playing 36 minutes last game. So if he can get over 32 minutes, he should have no problem hitting value. I think he can score at least 30 fantasy points in this one and get you over 5 times value. He's 5,800 FanDuel salary, and he's 300 more on DraftKings. Vegas thinks there's going to be 227 points scored in this game. It's a good matchup, so I like Khem Birch here versus the Memphis Grizzlies. Okay, another center that I like. Here's a value play, and I think he's a super interesting value play on DraftKings. I like Robin Lopez from the Washington Wizards playing the Indiana Pacers, who have the 5th worst defense overall, and they give up the 4th most fantasy points to opposing centers. Robin Lopez, he scored 40, 22, and 14 fantasy points in his last 3 games, playing 23, 17, and 15 minutes. Now, I think he can score 20 fantasy points or more in this one, and I'm probably not going to play him on FanDuel. He's 4,300 FanDuel salary, but he's 800 less on DraftKings. So I love that DraftKings price. I think he's a good high risk, high reward play on DraftKings. It's a fantastic matchup, and Vegas thinks there's going to be 248 points scored in this game. So a super high scoring game. This is a good way to get low salary exposure to this high scoring game. This is a great game to stack. So I like Robin Lopez here versus the Indiana Pacers. Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.